Temple of Heat. I'm Rob, and this video is going to be about forging some hinges. This was the hinge pattern that we're going to have for our door. What we're going to do in this video is I'm going to cut up this material right here, which is pickled and oiled hot rolled steel. It's 1/8 of an inch thick and 3 inches wide. So I'm going to cut this 4-foot piece into 4 equal sections, and we're going to make our hinges out of that. This is just 1/4 inch cold rolled steel that's going to make up the hinge pins. And I wanted to show you a special tool that I made. It goes in the hardy hole on an anvil, and I'm hoping that I can use it to help form the hinge eyes, because it does have an angle cut on it, and you'll see this in use in the video. So I'll point that out when we get to that part. The other thing that I picked up, this is a hot cut hardy tool, and I'll be able to cut off the pieces instead of using the bandsaw. So I can do all this work here at the anvil, which is more blacksmithing. These are just some scrap pieces of steel that I'm going to use to practice, because I've never made a hinge eye before. And these are the scrap steel that I had that were turning into drifts. And you'll see these in action during the video. The other thing, I picked up a smaller hammer that I'm hoping that I'll be able to hammer better with. The hammer I was using wasn't really a blacksmithing hammer, and it was over 3 pounds. It was too heavy for me. So I switched to this smaller one, which is only 2.5 pounds.
Here's a look inside the forge. There's 2 pieces in there. That way I can work on one and heat one at the same time. Right here I'm trying to chamfer over the end hinge barrel where it's going to roll up and meet the hinge leaf. What I want is a smooth transition, so the angle is necessary. I chose to pound it instead of sawing or grinding on it because I'm trying to get as much practice at just hammering things as possible. I'm going to be rolling over the hinge barrel right here, and you can see I start and oops, backwards. It's a certain way it's got to roll into itself, and you need to make sure you have a clear understanding of what you're doing before you get started with this, because I could see having it rolled over the wrong way very easy. In this section, the barrel's been rolled over on that piece of flat stock that the part's being made from. The small leaf, it would be too small to hold on to with just a pair of tongs and do all that hinge work on the barrel. So I left it long. Now you'll see it'll get separated from the long piece, and that a little leaf on the hinge. The next step is just going to be to do the exact same thing on the long part of the hinge. You roll up the barrel and then cut out the profile. It's a great way to do it because that way you're able to hold onto the stock with tongs and work on it. The hinge barrels are rolled up, and now I'm marking out the parts with a pattern to cut out the profile. You can see there, lower right side of the video, there's the prototype. It's one that's already completed. That's what we're aiming to make all the other parts look like. So the process for getting the profile cut out is first you mark with a gray pen, then you use the scribe to scribe it out, and then you'll see here coming up via chisel, cold chisel, to pound everything out. That way it's deep enough when the part comes out of the forge red hot, you won't be able to see just the scribe lines. So the cold chisel marks, they're scored in there really deep. The part will be hot, and you can follow that score line with a cut chisel and cut it off.
Here are the parts for the hinges. We started with our piece of flat stock, the square edge. Then the next step was to chamfer over the edge to roll into the hinge eye. Then the hinge eye was rolled around into the anvil, then rolled up to form the barrel. After that was done, the part was cut off from the blank. Then the second part of the hinge was cut after the barrel was rolled using chisel techniques. First I marked it out with a cold chisel, and then I took a hot chisel and cut out the blank to form our pattern. And I did that same on both pieces, just like that. And the last step is to add the hinge pin and then peen over the top to make the rivets to hold the pin from falling out of the hinge. And here's the completed hinge. This was a prototype, and we have 3 more to go that are going to actually go on the door. And the interesting thing about this is it's easy to make one hinge look any kind of way, but it's very difficult to make 3 that match so they're identical on the same door. So we'll look at how that turns out at the end of the video. I have in the vise the small hinge leaf. It's clamped in there. I used the original one as the layout template or the pattern for each one. I've got silver pencil on here, and then I'll cut leaving the pencil line so that way I can file it for a perfect fit when it mates with the other part. And what I'll do now is I'll cut all the pieces before I go ahead and remove the waste.
Here's my setup for painting over the hinge ends. Just a block of steel. I've got the hinge with the pin and clamped to that block of steel on top of the anvil. Everything is cold right now and I just get it started. A little bit of tap sets enough to hold it right in place. And I'll apply the torch. I know everyone else on YouTube and books say you can pin a quarter-inch pin cold. I chose to do it with a little bit of heat because I was able to control it a little better, and I really don't have a cross peen hammer yet that's set up to do it cold. So this is just the way I did it with what I have. And it was kind of a wrestling match. It didn't turn out perfect. But these are the things, I mean, that you get the experience just by doing it. So I kept fussing with it until I got something that was acceptable. When I was done peening the hinge pins, everything was seized up and the hinges wouldn't move at all. So I had to put it back in the forge, get it hot, and then all you have to do is work it. You can see it with the tongs, it starts moving real nice.
Well, the hinges are painted and ready to go on the door. The next step is to install everything.